Tremendous. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We're here to talk about the power of storytelling, which is so crucial to reach consumers for businesses, reaching people where they are, and the importance of crafting a great story. Who better to join me on stage here than the three tremendous storytellers? Allow me to briefly introduce all of you a little bit more. We've got Amy Peck here on my left, the founder and CEO of Endeavor XR, global strategy firm focused on immersive technology. Amy is a total pro at telling the great stories of tomorrow. To her left, we've got Naimet Khalil, the co-founder of The Works, specializes in event management with a specific and driven mission to impact, inspire, and elevate industries and all of the stories within. And then at the far left, Aya Atassi, president and CEO of Click Inc. Media. Aya is, if I could say so, an ace social media creator. She helps some of the world's most influential companies get out of their own way to tell great stories. Storytelling is the thing that connects all of us as humans. It connects us to the brands that we love. And if any of you are entrepreneurs or own your own brands, I'm sure you're all very eager to figure out how do you tell a great story that connects with your audience. Amy, my first question will be for you here this afternoon. This is set up to be a big year in terms of spatial computing, specifically with the release of Apple Vision Pro. How will this shift in AR, VR technology, something I know you cover very closely, change how brands connect with consumers?
Well, if I can say as someone who's been in the AR, VR, XR, now spatial computing industry for over a decade, that we have been waiting for this moment from Apple because it's a signal that it's finally time for this technology to be able to be meaningful on a day-to-day basis for consumers. And what's going to be interesting, I think, for brands and the way that we connect with consumers is that we can tell stories in a 3D environment. So it's not just about storytelling. It's really about world building and creating experiences within a world that unfold over time. Social media has we were sort of chopping these little stories, and you are both experts at social media. But this is a way for those little short, sharp shocks to continue because you have an environment you can go back to. So a brand can build their world, and then you can go back over and over and over again and have a different type of experience every time you visit.
Naimet, since you specialize so closely in the event space, talk to me about how companies can really specialize or craft and nuanced stories for an event, even if that event, maybe something even like Web Summit, really only goes on for 2 or 3 days.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. When it comes to events, I kind of divide into 3 stages: the foundation, the core, and the impact. So before the event, you've got the foundation. You have to set your narrative. Who are your stakeholders? Who are your audiences? How you're going to get them engaged through storytelling. When it comes to the core, the event itself, the 3 days, and doesn't stop here with all the storytelling, with all the connection, the inspirations, the knowledge, telling stories. And then you've got the impact. The stories you actually create in that event and you play with for month and month to go. So it doesn't stop at 2 or 3 days.
Absolutely. I have no doubt that the companies that you help advise, they're very eager specifically to reach young consumers. They want to use the latest social media trends, social media platforms. But let's be honest, oftentimes that can come off a bit forced, maybe kind of cringy in the effort. How do you best advise to reach specifically younger consumers where they are without coming off too forced?
Yes, I can definitely see that there's a digital divide between the older generation and younger generation on social media. And like you said, it can sometimes come off as cringy, but everything is negotiable, and I don't consider it to be cringy. I actually like it when the older generation uses social media because it shows that they're trying to be relatable and they're trying to connect with younger audiences. So I actually encourage the older generation and more professional companies to utilize and leverage these platforms to try to create a connect with the younger generations, because everything is turning digital and everyone's on social media, and it's yielded really great success rates. So I think it's something that everyone should be utilizing, despite some people thinking of it as cringe when it's not, because that's just a figment of someone's people don't think it's cringe, or people can see it's cringe. I don't think it's cringe, and I think that everyone should be utilizing it to their advantage, because it just can make you really successful.
Absolutely. My next question is for the entire panel. Anyone can jump in. Maybe Amy, you first. How can businesses leverage user-generated content and customer stories to strengthen their own brand narrative, knowing that the customer themselves are capable oftentimes of telling not just a story that's as good as the brand can tell, but oftentimes even better than the brand can tell?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the gold standard, right? Because I think, marketing and advertising as industries, and I don't want to paint everybody with the same brush, but we have gone down a rabbit hole of harvesting data and then trying to tell stories to elicit behavior for financial gain. We're all in business, we all want to make money, but having something that is a little bit more authentic, where the brands are out front, because not only do they tell stories, they connect with this audience. The audience taking the story and their consumer taking the story and moving it on from there, that is the best case scenario. I think the way to actually engender that kind of love is by being a great, strong brand, so that the people who are loyal to you, they want to go out and tell your stories. And it bleeds into that kind of 3D that's coming, into creating worlds where now you have your loyal customers are engaging in these 3D environments. They're talking about your brand. They have digital versions of your brand if you're a wearable of some sort. So that's how to extend the brand far beyond the initial reach.
For UGC content?
Yeah, UGC, of course.
So as someone who works a lot on different social media channels, I think UGC is a great tool that a lot of companies can use. I do a lot of work on TikTok, and for those who don't know, for TikTok, UGC is when a company can use a singular person or an influencer to film content for, let's say, a product. So for an example, I have my own cosmetics line that's launching in April, and if I were to film a UGC video with an influencer, instead of hiring a whole marketing team, which would cost a lot of money and take a lot of time and resources away from my company, I could hire an influencer or a specific person. It doesn't have to necessarily be someone with a large following. And I would pay them, let's say, whatever their rates are, but $1,000 for an example, and they would film a video about my product, and I have all rights to use that video as many times as I want on any of my platforms. So essentially, for $1,000, I'm getting content filmed for me at barely any expense from my company, without a marketing team, without a video production, costs and all of that stuff, by a singular person, and I can reuse that, and that's essentially going to be seen by way more people than just an ad where I use so much expenses from in-house to make it, I would say. So
Naimat, when we spoke a few days ago, there was a really interesting note that you made, and it's with regards to Ramadan, which is just a few weeks away. How can brands best position themselves to tell a great story to people during Ramadan?
Okay, I'll answer this question by what we actually did with one of our companies. I'm a co-founder for Creative Industry Summit. And basically, we have a community of 30,000 plus creatives in the MENA region, part of this community. And we wanted to engage them through Ramadan with the brand. So we developed People's Choice Ramadan Awards. Ramadan is the Super Bowl of the Middle East. And and everyone becomes a judge. This is a good ad. This is a bad TV series. She had a bad hair day when she was filming this episode, and we all become judges. So what the brand wanted to relate to our audience in Ramadan, we gave them a voice, and we received more than 180,000 votes. And not only that, but we intended also to celebrate the people behind these kind of creative works that took place, the DOP, the writer, the jingle that was written, the stylist that did the costume, the art director that did the design. So we really acknowledge all of these people. And actually, one of the moments that is close to my heart is when at AOP came to me and he told me, thank you for letting the stars clap for us instead of us always cheering for them.
That's great. I appreciate that. Amy, as we continue to see innovations continue to emerge in tech, seemingly by the day, there's a new flashy thing to talk about every week. How do we all ensure that we have agency in the future over the stories that we tell, both as brands as well as individuals?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting time right now because a lot of the work that I do with clients it involves a parallel path to innovation. What I mean by that is that one path is around incremental improvement, and we know how to use technology for that. But the second is to actually build our own vision of the future. And it's funny because when I ask a lot of executives, you know, what they envision their life like, tell the story of your life 25 years from now, it's always very logical, it's very linear, and you can draw a line from here to there. But opening up our own vision of the future, and I'm a big believer in then using technology behind that to pave the path forward to that future. The more that we start to tell our own stories as we move into this digital realm, and it is coming, right? These devices, they're big, they're a little bit cumbersome now, but we are going to be moving off of 2D screens and have information around us all the time. Learning how to tell our own stories and to engage with digital content, and stories will just unfold over time. So a story might not have a beginning, middle, and end. It really may just be anchored in a particular place, and you meet and you share it there, whether it's with a brand or one of your social media followers or friends. And then you may see another continuation of that story, or you may add your own twist to that particular story. So I think from a very personal level, it's all up to us to have a vision of the future and for brands to meet us where we are, and not only where we are, but where we want to go.
You tell a story differently, let's say on TikTok versus LinkedIn. And I wonder, for the companies, the government officials, the government offices that you advise, how can storytelling be crafted to the various platforms? And if you are advising a brand, I'm sure they have a ton of questions about, and I'm sure they're overwhelmed with options. Oh, we want to do this style TikTok with, yellow text, or we want to do this sort of thing. How do you best position them for success, given all of the options that are out there, specifically in the social media space?
That's a great question because it can be really complicated and confusing because there's so many different social media channels to work with. And what I advise my clients and tell everyone is to do research on what the target audience is for each app and what you're trying to target. So for an example, market segmentation is where you're working with different target audiences, and you want to make sure you're targeting the right people on the right app you're using. So if you're trying to target a younger generation and a younger audience, you obviously want to be using Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Reels. Whereas if you're trying to target a bigger, more professional target audience, you obviously want to use LinkedIn or Facebook. And obviously you can use any social media app to target any age range or any type of market. But there is it's been shown over time that a younger generation uses TikTok, a younger generation uses Snapchat. For an example, if it's makeup or if it's sports, it's going to be on TikTok and Instagram Reels. Whereas if it's a satellite or a VC company, it's going to be on LinkedIn. And that's where you're really going to post the more in-depth professional content. Whereas if you're posting on TikTok, it's more short form, engaging, trendy content. You're going to have the intro, the bulk about your business, and the ending all within a 15 to 30 second range. Whereas on LinkedIn and Facebook, it's going to be more in-depth, probably going to have backlinks to your website, whereas it's completely different on trendier platforms like TikTok.
Absolutely. Nemeth, I'm wondering, from your experience and expertise in the event space, are there popular misconceptions, popular mistakes that you see companies make when trying to craft a great story to reach consumers where they are?
Assumptions. People make assumptions about their consumers or their stakeholders, and this makes what of you and me. So basically, don't make assumptions, ask questions, research, analyze data, and accordingly design the experience through storytelling. Storytelling is very common in marketing, but when it comes to events, it is the buzzword these days. So because it enriches your experience, it gives human value, and of course, physical events are important, will always be important, and going virtual or hybrid is not gonna cut it for us as human beings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I hop in on, because you just said something that I think is so important, so I want to make sure that everybody got it. It's do the research, but ask your consumers. I think, you know, it is so true. We paint these pictures, we use data to paint a picture of who we think the consumer is, but more and more that's changing, and we present very differently in different environments. I'm very different on TikTok than I am on Instagram, than I am on LinkedIn. And having a two-way conversation with your audience and your consumer, that's magical, right? And then you're limber and you're able to deliver the right types of stories and let them, again, run with it. So I thought that was a great point.
Thank you.
That's great. My next question is for Amy, but anyone can jump in. I mean, and we talked about this on one of my panels yesterday. It's 2024, so there has to be an obligatory artificial intelligence question. AI, obviously, it's firmly here to stay. It is here now, even if we weren't necessarily talking about it quite so much a few years ago. It's here today. It's the technology of tomorrow. But Amy, how do we make sure we are still authentic in our storytelling, even in an AI present and future?
I think looking at AI as a tool for storytelling. I use it for brainstorming. I'll put in a prompt if I have to write an article or I have to do some research, and I let the AI just help me, spark those creative juices. I even have it build images for me for my decks. So you'll start to see a lot of AI generated images in decks now. So, every technology has a side that, people are fearful about, but we have control of all of this technology for now. So learn just a little bit and start thinking of it as a tool and find ways to use it in your day-to-day life. And then as you build fluency, you'll come up with better and better ideas of ways to be more creative with, this as your sidekick.
Sure. We're not AI, by the way, just to clarify.
We're actually physically here.
We're human beings on the stage, I promise you. We got just over a minute, so my favorite question I've been looking forward to from each of you. We'll start with Aya, if we can. Your favorite example of a company or a corporation who has told a great story.
I have a very fitting example, seeing that we're in beautiful Doha right now. I watched an ad about 15 years ago, which just shows how amazing it was, because I remember it till this day. And it was actually a Qatar Airways ad about a little girl. She was about 6 years old, and she lost her stuffed animal on the flight. And it was just a little stuffed rabbit. So you're kind of wondering, what does this stuffed rabbit have anything to do with airplanes? But basically, she lost the rabbit. Her mom was frantically calling, everyone trying to find this rabbit with no luck. The Qatar Airways airline people, they responded. They had amazing customer service. And the ad quite literally showed, the cabin people and, the pilots, feeding the rabbit, fake food, taking care of it as it's the most prized possession on earth to get it back to the 6-year-old. So I still remember it till this day, 15 years later, because it was just a beautiful ad through the ways of storytelling to show that, hey, Qatar Airways takes care of its clients. And not only was it about this little bunny, but it showed we're going to feed you just like it fed the bunny. We have great customer service, just like it answered the mom, and we care for our customers just like it cared for this 6-year-old girl about her little stuffed animals.
That's great. Name it, a favorite example?
I would say L'Oreal, because their last campaign, or actually their campaign 2 years ago, was "You're worth it, I'm worth it," and it resonated with me, as it was very personal. Very, very personal.
That's great. Finally, Amy?
Well, because I did 300 nights away from home last year, and 222 of them were in Marriott hotels. And they do these amazing stories about their travelers, and it's because the TV is on when you come into the room and it says, "Welcome, Amy." And there's always several reels of travel stories through the eyes of some of their customers. And it's the reason I travel, and I think it's just evocative, and it just touches me in a way that keeps me loyal to the brand, because, you know, of those 300 nights, 222 of them were in Marriott. So it's definitely working on me.
That's a lot of Marriott points. My special thanks. Please put your hands together one more time for our wonderful panelists, Namit, Amy, and Aya. Thank you all for being here, and thank you.